Welcome back to my studio. My name is Monica. We are going to continue with our spring mini series, and for this one, I have decided to do Spring Moon. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, I have put together this little series prompt list that you can choose from. The only parameter for this is that we're keeping it mini. So if you want to do something like a collage or maybe just a little sketch or work in a different medium, it's all up to you, really. I have this prompt list that I created, and you can download it for free on my website. It's printer friendly, so you can print this out and keep it on your desk. And you can work from one of these every day or every week or one a month or however you want to do this. The idea behind it was to have some inspired prompts to keep us in a theme, but without the added pressure of time constraints. So I know that I want to create enough of these that I'll have a little series at the end of this, and maybe next year I can build on this series. So it's a great way to build a creative practice too. And these don't take very long because they're minis. So I have decided off of the prompt list to pick Spring Moon. And I know that I want to add a big moon here. And I was thinking about some of the things that remind us of spring, and rabbits come to mind. So my idea is to do a night sky with some rabbit silhouettes in front of the moon. And I'm not a huge fan of masking fluid. I've said that like 100 times. And if I had one of those pens, masking fluid pens, I would probably use that. But this works just as well, I've found. I have a circle punch. It's 1.5 inches. And I'm just going to punch out from my labels a circle. And I'll be able to stick this right on my paper, and that will act as a mask so that I can paint right over this. And these seem to work pretty good. I've used them a few times, and they're not so sticky that they're gonna damage the paper when you try to pull it off. And I think that's, scooch that over a little bit and try to get that centered. Okay. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is lay that sticker down for a mask. And then I'm going to mix up some paint here. Actually, you know, I think I'm going to wet this paper first, and then I'll grab my paint. And I want to do a sky that's not super dark, because I know that I'm going to have the silhouettes of the rabbits in front of it, so we still want to be able to see those. So I don't want to make this so dark. So I'm just getting a nice coat of water, and I hope that sticks down on the edges enough that we're not going to have any seepage underneath. We'll find out when we're done, when we pull that off. So I am going to start off with some blue, and I'm probably going to throw in a little bit of I think this is a violet color, like a quinacridone violet. I'm going to start off with this blue. Now, if you wanted to do some clouds, when it's wet, you can lift up some of the paint. And I'm going to add some of this. That's a little bit strong, so I'm going to wet that down with my brush. And this is going to dry lighter anyway, And I'm going to keep it a little bit lighter towards the bottom. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit more blue up at the top. So I think we're going to give this a dry. And once it's dry, I'm going to determine whether or not I need to go back in and do another wash to make it a little bit darker. This is dry now, and watercolor always dries lighter, and I think I want to make another pass, and I want to concentrate most of the paint at the top and keep it a little bit lighter at the bottom, just so that we've got some good contrast between the sky and the rabbits. So I'm going to go right into this pan, and I don't think I'm even going to water this down at all. And I'm going to mix in some of that violet so I can get a nice deep purple. And I'll start dropping this in. You can leave a couple of little gaps, and that might indicate some clouds up there too. And I want to keep this edge kind of soft. I want this to blend out at the bottom. But I definitely want it to be darker up here at the top. And while this is wet down here, I think what I might do is add in a little bit of what might be vegetation back there, like a field. And I'm gonna mix up a little bit of this burnt umber and some of my blue, just to get a dark color, a dark gray. And I'm gonna drop this in. And the idea behind it is, well, maybe I don't want it that big. I'll just do something like that. I'll go all the way down. Just some blurry indications of stuff happening. And I'm not going to worry too much about what's happening down here, because I know that I'm going to put in the rabbits here, and once those are finished, I'll go back in and add in some more defined blades of grass. So I'm going to give that another quick dry, and then we can pull this sticker off. Okay, that's dry, and this is already lifting off, and there you go. We have a nice, clean moon. I had a little bit of leakage right there, but nothing major. So before I sketch in the rabbits, I think it would be a good idea to add any color to this moon that we want. And I think what I might do is I'm going to wet this first, and then I'll drop the color in. And I'll concentrate most of my water in the center of the moon, and then I can always push the pigment out to the edges. That way I don't have to worry about being exact, and I can get rid of this little area right here where it bled. I should be able to fuzz that right out with my brush. But I have this really pretty lavender color, and I think I'm gonna try that. And I just want to keep this kind of subdued, and I'm gonna keep the edges of the moon light. So I'm going to hit this with the dryer one more time, get this completely dry, and we'll get those rabbits sketched in. So for these rabbits, since we're doing them in silhouette, I don't really have to worry about any major detail. I just need to get the shape of the rabbits in here. And if you're not comfortable with drawing and you want to do something like this, you don't have to do the rabbits. You can just do the moon and maybe some grasses at the end, and we'll do that darker. So I found a couple of reference photos on Unsplash that I'm going to be using, and I'm just using them for the basic shape of the rabbit. And I'm going to pencil these in pretty dark too, since we're going to be painting this in a dark color. It really doesn't matter how dark my sketch lines are for this. Okay, I had to sketch that one in white because I couldn't see what I was doing. So we're going to mix up another color, and I'll probably just add a little bit of this, either a burnt sienna or a burnt umber, right into my purple mixture. And that'll give us a nice dark color. And I've got to fill some of these wells again. Those are running dry. Either that or I'll have to get out my bigger palette. And I like working with this Etcher Lab palette because it doesn't take up any room on my desk, which is really nice. So if you've got some scrap paper laying around, you can always test your colors out on that. And I know I want to go really dark, so this will work really great. And if I don't get as dark as I want on the first pass, we'll just go in again and paint another layer. So I'm using my, actually I'm going to switch to my 0 brush, I think, so that I can get, so I can paint these silhouettes and try to get these as close to my sketch as I can. And something else that I've mentioned before, when you're painting shapes in watercolor, try to fill in the shape as opposed to outlining it and then filling it in, because especially if you're working on a large piece, sometimes the line will dry before you have a chance to fill it in, and then you're left with this this outlined shape. I'm going to give these a dry, and then I'm going to decide whether or not I want to go back in and darken any areas up. So I think I'm going to darken up this rabbit a little bit. And I think he needs a little bit on this side, on the kind of on the back side. So I'm going to hit these with the dryer one more time, and the next thing we're going to do is add in some stars. Okay, I'm going to grab my white ink, which I have right here, and I'm going to get a little bit of this out and put it in the lid. Now I thought about spattering the paint, but it's such a small area and it's kind of hard to cover, you know, the spaces up, so I think it'd be just a little bit easier to drop these in, to put these in by hand, you know, like this, paint these in. And if you have a gel pen, I'm going to see what kind of a... I have gel pens. I have some really great ones, and then I have some not so great ones, but you can definitely use a gel pen. They make a little bit of a bigger dot. I actually think that might be a little bit easier to use my pen. And here's something else that's really cool that you can do. I'm going to actually put this ink away for a second. You can rinse out your brush and kind of tap it off a little bit and go into your ink, and it's like you're erasing it. And what you're doing is basically making a bigger circle. So you can do that on a couple of these. And let me lay down some more, maybe one here and here. And then I'll take my brush, and it's like I'm wiping it out, so making a big circle. And what we're creating really is like a halo of light around certain stars. And then I can go back in with my gel pen and put in a dot like that. And then you have these really cool looking stars. Okay, so I'm very carefully going to go in here and try not to make mistakes with this pen. Those are some wonky stars. I'm going to go back in with some of my ink and see if I can't get some really small dots in here. And I honestly like the way splattering looks better. So I am going to scrub some of these out. And if you get a big blob of water on your paper like I just did, you can just take a tissue or paper towel and blot it right out. But some of these are not circular and they don't really look like stars. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is cover these up like that. I'll cover up the rabbits. And it doesn't really matter too much if we get ink on the moon, because I don't think we're really going to see it. So, I mean, if you're worried that you'll be able to see it, you can always cover that up too. But I am going to take my brush, and it's got plenty of water in it, and I'm just going to flick. See, and that looks much better to me than my not so circular stars. And I want to get some down here, so I'm going to lay the paper towel. I'll just keep moving the paper towel and hopefully avoid getting it on these rabbits. Something like that. Okay, I'll do the same thing down here. And if you end up with something like that, you know, it's really the same thing. Just take your brush, wet it, and blot it up. And I think I got one on his nose here. Same thing with this. Okay. So I want to do this area right over here. I'll cover him up. And just a little bit more, like right here. And I think that's pretty good. And I am going to take my brush and quickly wipe out with a damp brush, just go over this and wipe out some of this ink. My over splatter and blot that up. There's a little bit right there. And I can pick up some more of my dark paint and just go right over that too, after I've blotted it up. Okay. So another quick dry, and then I'll add in the grass. And I'm going to go right over the top of the rabbits, and I'm just using this, I'm going to use the side of my brush, if I can hang on to it, to pull up some larger areas like this, and then I'll go back with the tip of my brush and pull out some specific blades of grass like that. And just make sure that when you're doing grass that you're varying the direction and they're not all going like straight up and down, because they grow in lots of different directions. I'm going to add a little more paint over here. And something else you can do with these grasses, especially over on the edges. I'm going to pull some of this up and so for this tall stem right here, I'm going to add some dots at the top, just to indicate that it's some other kind of plant. And you can do that randomly. You know, just add a couple little dots here and there to indicate that there's some flowers or something growing back here. We're not sure what. Okay. And that's really about it. It's just as simple as that. If you're new to watercolor, I think this is a really easy process. And you can paint this over and over using different animals, or maybe you don't want to put the rabbits in at all. You can just put the grasses in, which would also be really pretty. So I hope you give this one a try, and I hope you're making progress on your own little mini series. You can find the prompt list on my website. It's printable, you can take a screenshot, and it's totally free. This is just a little bit of inspiration for the spring. And I do want to say that as I'm painting this today, it is snowing outside, and it's like, you know, the second week of April anyway. So it was nice to take a break from looking at the snow outside and paint these cute little rabbits in the spring moonlight. So if you've got any comments or questions, leave them in the description box or in the comment section, and I'll leave the prompt list in the description box for you. Let me know how you're liking this, and maybe just pop in and say hi. If you want to get all of these videos that I'm releasing every week, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified. And if you want to give this a thumbs up, that would be great too, because it really helps my channel. So thanks for being here, and I hope you had fun with this little one, and take care. Bye-bye.